Now then, get your equipment, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game. Genesis 27:3. Well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Food for the Plot. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but I'm actually wearing my mic a lot lower. The last podcast I had with my best friend Ian Wilson, unfortunately, the mic was cutting in and out, so we had some audio issues throughout the whole podcast that I was unaware of until I was editing the video. So hopefully today we don't have any issues. There's actually a green light, so as long as it's solid, it is getting my audio. So hopefully all works out today. But I hope you guys are all doing well. I'm excited about this podcast. This is season 3 podcast, so we're going to wrap up season 2 today. Although there's still a few videos yet to drop, and then we're going to talk about everything in season 3 this year. We're currently about 15 days out from archery season for deer here in Ohio, and I couldn't be more excited. So first of all, I just want to start the podcast off today by opening us up in prayer. Now, I am going to take off my hat, and I might scare some of you. Please don't make fun of me because I have very bad hair genetics. So if you guys would, just take off your hats, bow your heads in prayer, and I'm going to walk us through a quick little prayer and just ask for God's blessing over this hunting season for me and for all of you and your family. So, Lord, dear Heavenly Father in heaven, thank you so much for this beautiful day, Lord, for each and every day is the day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it always, Lord. I thank you for being very close here to the opening of hunting season for myself, Lord, here in Ohio, and for my audience. And in some states, of course, hunting seasons have already opened, depending on what you're hunting. So I know we're all excited, and I just thank you for the opportunity that you have given us to enjoy your creations and to chase your wild game, Lord. And I just ask for your blessing over each and every one of our hunting seasons this year. I pray for safety. And on a different note, Lord, I'd like to ask for your healing hands over Mr. Charlie Kirk's family and all that they're going through, Lord. I know that they're definitely hurting, and they need your love, Lord. And especially for all those who have been touched by him, Lord, and who look up to him, including myself, Lord. So I ask you to be with his family. And Lord, I just thank you for this beautiful day. Pray for a beautiful rest of the day. Ask for your blessing even over this podcast, Lord. And thank you for all that you do, Lord. We love you, God, and Jesus so much. We pray and ask these things in Jesus, your most precious, beautiful, perfect, holy, and amazing name. Amen. All righty. I appreciate that, y'all. It feels good. I'm going to kick things off right this year. So I've kind of got a little makeshift script here just to keep myself on task here. So first up, I just want to talk about what's left in season 2. So I've got my handy dandy hunting binder here. Hopefully this doesn't make a lot of noise as I open it up, but I want to share with you guys what is left in the season. So for the remainder of season 2, Kickin Feet Outdoors, I have today's season 3 podcast. And then hopefully dropping on September 19th is going to be a venison bratwurst video. I've got some venison brats to make up with the remaining deer burger that I have in the freezer. And then hopefully on September 26th, that'd be the day before Ohio's archery deer season starts, I should have a fall food plot video dropping. This year I went with Illusion food plot systems, and I actually got those on clearance from Rural King a year back or so, and I was very excited to use those out this year. We'll kind of jump into how they're doing later, but they're pretty interesting. They're definitely a great product, and overall I think they're very good. Now it just depends on weather wherever you're at, and that's something we're currently battling here in Ohio. As for what's in the lineup for season 3, I'm hoping to do a Ridge Hunter promotional video on their buck tarsal gland lure. They were kind enough that I reached out to them and they gave me a discount code for their buck tarsal gland lure. So I'm hoping to get my hands on some of that, but it's not going to be available until October. I did get some equipment from Fourth Arrow this year, and I'm really excited to use it. So I'm going to do a promotional video for them. So I have never found a true deer shed while out shed hunting. So this year I'm going to try to build a shed trap once it's that time of the year for the bucks to shed their antlers. I've seen some pretty cool DIY projects out there, so I'm going to try to do something like that. Of course, y'all know that I'm a trapper, and so I'm really big into making my own homemade trap dye using walnuts, black walnuts in particular. So I'm going to hopefully do a video on some homemade trap dye. If any of you saw my short, it was also on TikTok. I found that dead buck back in, I think it was like June. So I'm hoping to do a DIY Euro mount on that. I've done a few Euro mounts in the past, and they've all turned out really good. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it. It's a real cheap and easy way to do it. Hoping to get you guys on the trap line this year as I set some traps for coyotes and raccoons and stuff like that. Also, I'm looking into hopefully getting a game warden from the surrounding area on Food for the Plot. I think that would be really cool. I feel like game wardens get a bad rap, and they're just this butting heads between hunters and game wardens, and it really just doesn't need to be that way. You know, we're supposed to help each other out, and I think it'd be really cool to get a game warden on here. And also, hopefully, probably right at the beginning of deer season, one of the days I'm in the stand after I get done hunting, I am hoping to do a what is in my deer pack video just to show you guys what I carry. Of course, it's all dependent on the season and, you know, weather and rut or not and stuff like that. But I think that'd be a really cool video. That's what's in the lineup for now. So I'm really looking forward to season 3 of Kickin Feet Outdoors this year. It's going to be really cool. Now, with that being said, it is going to be a very busy hunting season for me in the sense that I'm in my second to last semester of college this year. So many of you know, I started going back to college once I got out of the Army. I'm using my VA education benefits. And so, yeah, I've got 2 semesters left, including this one that I'm in. And let's see, I have in-person classes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then 2 in-person classes on Thursday. So my hunting schedule is kind of looking like I'm possibly going to be able to hunt the evening on Thursdays. Should be able to hunt pretty much all day Friday as long as I've gotten all my schoolwork done. I have another location, which is the base, that I'm hoping to hunt on Saturday mornings. That's when I saw the most deer activity there last year, which is pretty much the main spot I hunted last year. Probably come back here and hopefully hunt the farm in the evening on Saturdays. I also got a stand set up at the public land just like 15 minutes west of here. And so, that's definitely another option if I'm hunting in this area. Of course, got church on Sunday mornings, but we'll be hunting locally Sunday evening. And as long as the schoolwork doesn't look like I'm too overloaded for the week, I might even get out there here on the farm on Monday mornings. So we'll see. Definitely no hunting for me on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but I'm going to do my best this year. Now, with that being said, because of that schedule, my content creating is going to be very interesting the remainder of this year, just because it does take a lot. So my goal is to get an episode of Food for the Plot, one of those out per month, and then I'm hoping to drop a video or 2 pertaining to Kickin Feet Outdoors. They're on YouTube every month as well. So that's going to be the plan. As for deer hunting, I'm probably not going to be doing like a whole lot of update videos or just little videos of me seeing some deer and stuff. I'm really hoping to be successful this year and shoot a mature whitetail buck this year, hopefully here on the farm, and hoping to wrap up some big story for you guys. Something, hopefully one of the bucks that I have a lot of history with, and something that I can make into a really cool video for you guys. So moving on here, also here in season 3, a video that I did not mention that might happen. It's tentative, but it's on the plan to burn our 5-acre CRP this fall, which would be really interesting to do this year, because it's usually, around the rut and whatnot. But that'd be a really cool video to do. And yeah, let's see. I've got a note here that I'm not doing any travel hunting this year. So if any of you guys watch my spring turkey hunting video, I was down in southeastern Ohio, and man, it was a ball of fun. And I did find a lot of good deer activity down there. Made some pins on Onyx, spots I'd like to go back and deer hunt in the future. Was kind of hoping I was going to get there this deer season, but it's not looking like that because of my school schedule. So I'm probably not really doing much travel hunting this year. And yeah, so I mean, that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I'm really looking forward to really putting in extra time here on the farm this year. So one note that I do want to make is, through going through pictures from last year's season, truck cam pictures that is, and just putting notes together and making a game plan for this year pertaining to the farm. The rut last year was really interesting around here. For me, I was only able to hunt here a handful of times. It just seemed really slow. So the bucks here on the farm peaked roughly from November 4th throughout the 14th. So I'm definitely going to use that knowledge this year. I would expect something similar. I did read an article from Onyx concerning the rut, and they said that because of the full moon on November 5th this year, to stay out longer on November 6th and 7th. So I know I'm kind of just jumping around things here, but this is just good information for any of you guys hunting here in Ohio. And November 4th, plus or minus a day, expect to see bucks cruising. Looking at the average breeding day, November 13th, and November 16th, plus or minus 2 days, which would be after the peak. It's a great time to see a buck you've never seen show up because he's traveling further distances in hopes of one last doe being in heat. So just keep that in mind. Maybe throw that in your back pocket as you hunt the Ohio rut this year. Thought that was some really cool information. And yeah, like I said, I'm really looking forward to the rut this year. So jumping into some gear that I'm using this year that is new to me. I've been using the G5 like Montex these past few years, which are fixed blade broadheads. But this year I'm going to switch to some mechanical broadheads, and I'm using these NAP double crosses. Again, they're mechanical, 100 grain, 2-inch cut in diameter. So I'm excited to be using those this year. And also, I mentioned fourth arrow earlier, so I did get this tripod adapter piece. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. I think it's like a Rex arm or something. But it sits there on your tripod. Of course, I don't know if any of you have had really any trouble with it, but it seems for me like when I'm hunting in a ground blind and I'm using my tripod to film, so this concerns anybody that's self-filming their hunts. The tripod legs, expand so wide, and I feel like, in those ground blinds, you've got your pack, your bow, just a bunch of stuff, right? And it just seems like those tripod legs are in such a obnoxious place. You're trying to move around and everything. So I think this thing's going to come in handy because I can put my swivel head on here, and this swivels all around, and I think that's just going to create this about a foot distance extra that I have to move around and not be hitting the tripod with my legs and stuff like that. Might seem kind of silly to some, but I think that is going to be very useful this year. Another piece of gear I'm looking forward to using this year is an extinguisher grunt tube. I've always heard about these in the past, watching Deer Society's videos and stuff, and I just decided to give this a try this year. I think it sounds pretty good, and figured, yeah, try it out. I don't know anything, about it, like stats or anything like that, but it seems like in Deer Society's videos they have pretty good luck. So also, I broke down this year and bought a GoPro, so it's a Hero 11, and was able to get this on Amazon for a decent price, and it came with a bunch of accessories and stuff. So I'm really looking forward this year to just using that because, of course, it came with like a head mount and a chest harness and a bunch of different rigs. And I think that's just going to help me really get some different angles this year for y'all, because it seems like for the most part, I'm kind of basic when it comes to my filming, and I really want to get creative with it this year. Also, the last piece of gear I've got up here at the moment, I'm not going to pick it up because it's kind of heavy. I really need to buckle down and just buy a fourth arrow camera arm for hunting, like in the stand. But I went with this Muddy Outdoors camera arm that I got on Amazon, And I do like it because it breaks down into like 2 different pieces. So, that comes in handy when you're packing it in and out. And I actually got a little creative with it. I had an old, smaller, muddy camera arm that I was using in the past, and I drilled a hole in this new one, and I was able to put another swivel head on there. So now I could run 2 cameras on that, because the problem in the past for me filming has been I've been running like 2 different camera arms, like 2 separate camera arms, and it's real tough to have one going and then try to turn around to turn on something else. It's just been a mess. So I'm looking forward to using this camera arm with the double on there. Again, I did that. It didn't come like that, but I'm really looking forward to using that. And for any of you guys listening to this on Spotify, you'll have to hop on YouTube and check it out, and kind of watch and see what I'm talking about here. But that's definitely going to come in handy. And also, just going back to the GoPro, something I didn't mention is I got a little remote for it. So that way this year, rather than trying to turn around and not be seen by a deer moving, while you're trying to turn on a camera or something, I've got the remote for it, so I can just click it, and I think that's going to come in handy this year. So I've kind of already mentioned it already, but I've got 3 places that I'm hunting this year. I've got here at the farm. I've got the base where I hunted primarily last year, and I'm hunting that piece of public ground that's like 15 minutes away. It's a real small piece, but might come in handy. It just allows me to not put so much pressure on here or the base. For any of you active duty military, National Guard, reserves, veterans out there, the base around here. So I live close to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I was in the Army. So if you get the chance, they have a really good hunting program there. My father, he actually is the one that runs the natural resources program there and the hunting program. So of course they've got their rules and regulations. If you hunt there, of course you got to have a valid hunting license, and you need to buy a base permit off of iSportsman. But all in all, it's a real easy process. And a really good opportunity to give you some extra hunting ground, especially if you don't have somewhere to hunt and you want to get into it. Definitely a good place. But definitely read the regs there at the base. They have some other stuff on there that you got to pay close attention to. Make sure you're doing your due diligence and doing the right thing. So just jumping into some prep work I did this entire deer season, starting with our trail cameras. So I put up my non-cellular trail cameras July 1st, and I put up my cellular cams August 1st, with a tentative plan to pull all the cellular cams by Thanksgiving. The subscriptions on the cellular plans can get obnoxious, and I'm just trying to save a few bucks. So that's my plan for this year. Also, I'm not going to be putting out any mock scrapes this year. I've been really hot and heavy on the mock scrapes in the past. And this year, I just want to get kind of crazy with it, not put out any, and just see what the deer do. I think that's just going to teach me a lot about the deer. And last year, I had an issue of putting out mock scrapes and having a trail camera right over the mock scrape. I'd get a big mature buck in there, and I'd get one picture of him on that scrape, and then I'd never see him there again. So I just, I'm afraid I could be educating the deer. So I just want to get away from it this year and just see what they do naturally. Let them all do it on their own. As for the stands and blinds this year here on the farm, I feel like I got a little unique with it this year. I tried to get some stands like further back than what they normally were. Of course, we've got like little driving trails around the whole property. And so I wanted to get the stands off the beaten path, so to speak. And even some spots here on the farm that used to be driving trails that we haven't maintained, the deer have actually picked up on using those as their trails. And so I was able to get some stands in places like those this year. And, we've got deer going through those trails, and I think that's going to be a huge advantage this year. Kind of back to the trail cams, just a real quick shout out to Browning. They were so kind enough this year to send me those 2 new cameras, and they've been awesome. It's been really cool being able to use those, and I love the feature of the live stream camera, being able to check in down at the one food plot and just see what's down there. And that's going to help me a lot this year, because the stand that I have over that plot is going to be a really good spot. I feel like I've had a lot of deer activity in that plot last year, and it's kind of in the funnel of the property, so they can only go through there on the property right in that particular area. So with that being said, there's really not any good entrances or exits to that stand. You're pretty much going around the food plot one way or the other and bedding. So yeah, I'm really happy that I have that live stream camera over it, and I'm going to be able to, just check in and see if there's anything actively in that plot. As for the watering holes this year, I really tried to stay on top of keeping the front watering hole filled up this year. It seems like it just doesn't do a really good job of catching the rain. And of course, now for the past 2 months, we've been in a drought here in Ohio. So I tried to do good at, filling that up this year. And I also put in another one just south of the house here. And that one turned out really cool because it's constantly got running water going into it. And so I'm really excited about that. I did put in a spring food plot this year. It was a perennial mix of alfalfa and clover and some other stuff. And I'm definitely going to get into doing that next year for all the food plots because it was so nice this year once the fall rolled around that I was just able to mow it and I didn't have to replant it. And it was a breeze, to say the least. So really excited about that. And that food plot has been doing really good this entire year, and I've got some good pictures in there, and I'm really excited because I did get in what I call the in-between blind. So it's nestled in between those two food plots on the west side of the property, and that's just going to be such a good spot this year, I think. Also, another thing I did this year was go to Roll King, and rather than buy those slightly expensive, tiny little salt blocks or mineral blocks, I actually just bought the big salt blocks that are for livestock for putting out in your pasture, and put those with the watering holes and some other places around the food plots. And that has been huge this year. I have a lot of pictures of deer licking on it, fawns licking it. And I think that's just really cool because that's such a vital, resource that they need. Bucks and velvet licking on those salt blocks. So if you get the chance, I'd look into doing something like that rather than wasting your money on the tiny salt blocks. Because I did put out a tiny salt block or two, and of course, over time they kind of break up, and then I had pictures of raccoons just pulling them out and doing with them what they wanted. So they can't move those big solid blocks. So do with that what you will. As for putting out like corn or feed for the deer this year, try to stay on top of that too. Definitely got some corn out there for the deer this year, and didn't get quite as much deer activity on the front feeder this year. Which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. The coons have been really hitting everything hard this year, and at the end of the day, they need it too. They're looking for food, so really can't blame them. I guess if I was a raccoon, I'd be doing the same thing if I saw a handout. So moving right along here, we did finish the shoot house this year, so that was really awesome. If you haven't seen that video, I think it turned out pretty good. So definitely check it out and let me know what you guys think. I'm really excited to hunt that this year, and I'm even more excited to get my wife, mom, and dad out there. I think that's going to be really cool this year, and we've definitely got some bucks with some bad genetics on the farm. It's becoming, I hesitate to say the word plague, but it's becoming an issue, and so I'm really looking forward to getting them out there this year, and hopefully they can shoot some bucks. So let's jump into the fall food plots this year. Again, I mentioned it earlier, use the Illusion food plot systems. Yeah, that's what it's called. I've got it sitting over here on my desk. But use that this year. And, I'll be honest. So got those planted in about mid-August once my wife and I got back from our Alaska trip. And, there was no rain in the forecast. But here in Ohio, it's like wait 5 minutes and it'll change. I just kind of assumed that we get some rain coming in because usually you check the weather and it says no rain in the 10-day forecast, and by the next day there's rain in the 10-day forecast. I kind of figured that was what was going to happen, but rather than that, we've been in a drought these past 2 months, the months of August and July, and now here in September. I think it's probably rained like 2 or 3 times. So needless to say, those food plots aren't really growing. The one south of the house is growing because it's at the bottom of a hill and it does get a lot more moisture down there. But for this one out this way, it's not growing at all. So I've got a backup plan, and I actually made the purchase last night from Hancock Seed Company. If you guys get the chance, definitely go to their website, check them out, because they have a lot of good mixes on there. But I was doing some research, just trying to figure out, what I could buy that's kind of similar to like a throw and grow, something that I could just toss, something I could broadcast out there, that I wouldn't necessarily need to disc up the plot and plant it and roll it and all the things. And I was trying to think of something kind of like grass. If you're trying to work in your yard and spruce up your front or backyard, you just spread the grass seed and it pretty much grows. You don't need to plant it actually. So I was thinking of something similar to that, something that the deer could still eat. And long story short, I came up with a mix of winter wheat, rye, and oats. Now, the oats will die as soon as the first frost hits, but the wheat and the rye will continue growing and doing well as the temperature fluctuates. So that is my backup plan. It's actually on the way now. So I'm going to have those seeds on standby, and as soon as I um, see rain in the forecast, the day before, I'm going to be out there playing, and or I might actually plant while it's raining, just so I can get that stuff out there and I know it's going to grow. Last week I did hook up the tank and I filled it up with water. It's not a very big tank, but I went out there to the plots. I spent an hour or so on each plot just trying to spray water and trying to moisten the soil, but it was pretty much evaporating as soon as it hit the soil. So so I definitely came up with a backup plan, and looking forward to seeing how it works out this year. Hopefully you guys aren't experiencing the same problem as me. But if you are, definitely just do some research and try to think some things that might help you out. So next up, let's just jump into my target buck lineup this year. Just pretty much here on the farm. I'll kind of touch on the base too. I don't have anything out at the public land. I'm not even running any cameras out there. But just some general buck information here. Bucks on average, they gain like roughly 20 to 30 inches in gross a year. And for your 1.5 year olds, you're looking at like your spikes and forks. 2.5 years old is typically when bucks, white-tailed deer, make a big jump in their growth. Roughly they jump up there to like 80 to 120 range. 3.5 years is when they have some noticeable frame development. You're looking at that 110 to 140 range. 4.5 to 6.5 years old is pretty much when they hit their peak. So you're looking anywhere from that 140 to 200 plus inch range. And pretty much from 7 years old plus is when antlers begin to decline in the size and score. So just some general information for you guys real quick. First up, buck that is definitely number one on my list this year is a deer that I call Boss Hog. As far as I know, I don't have any pictures of him this year. Last year, he showed up October 29th. And anyways, he's pretty impressive last year. He's a half rack. He's a half rack. He's got full left side and pretty much a split brow on the right side. He's estimated to be like 5.5 years old last year, so we're looking at a 6.5-year-old deer this year. And just due to age, it's very unlikely that he would bounce back to a full rack. Now, I know he's old because I did have a picture of him from back in 2022. Very similar look with the half rack and all. Unfortunately, that was on an SD card that had thousands and thousands of pictures, and I got into a pretty good groove of just clicking the delete button because there wasn't like any pictures of deer, and that was the one picture I had of him. And as I saw who it was, I was clicking the delete button. It just happened quick, so I don't have that picture, unfortunately. But definitely looking out for him this year. Last year, he was very aggressive and a very dominant buck. And actually, just a couple months in the rut, he had pretty much broken off most of his tines. So he looked very drastically different had it not been for a few characteristics that I was able to pinpoint. So, he's definitely a bully buck. So he's number one on my list this year. But with that being said, there's a few other hit listers that if they show up, and I have them in bow range, I'm not going to hesitate to shoot them before, just because he hasn't, shown up yet. I'm still holding on to the hope. If you've been with me from day one, you've probably heard me mention Captain Kool-Aid. So Captain Kool-Aid showed up in 2023 and pretty much disappeared after that. So I've pretty much come to the conclusion that either he's died or dispersed to a new home range, or he's injured himself and has showed back up, just with an unrecognizable, like busted rack, and I just don't know it. He was really impressive, and I'd love to see him alive, but I have no idea if he is still alive. Unfortunately, there's a lot of hunting pressure around here. The farm is a small property, so there's probably a good chance, unfortunately, that he is dead. Moving on, there's a deer that I deemed GG Tines last year. He was an impressive, probably like 125 to 130 inch deer. And, last year estimated to be like 3.5 years old. So looking for a 4.5-year-old deer this year. And I don't know whether he is alive or not. I did get a picture this year of a buck in the one food plot. And so GG Tines had a very unique characteristic. It was the start of a drop tine on his right side. I wasn't for sure if that was actually going to, drop into a full drop tine or not. But I got a picture this year of a deer, and it's a half rack. But on his right side, there's a start of a drop tine. It looks just like GG Tines last year. I don't know whether it's the same deer or not. Only time will tell, but that is the possibility that he has, been injured in some sort of way, possibly shot, whatever. And, he could be and he might have, some weird antlers going on. So moving along, there is a deer that I had pictures of last year that I deemed Frisch, as in like Frisch's big boy. He's probably like a 3.5-year-old last year, roughly in the range of 125 to 132 inches. So I don't know if he is for sure still alive. I've got a picture of what seems to be possibly him, but all it is some antlers in the picture. And I got that picture down on a well-known deer trail. Just unfortunately, it was really thick in vegetation down there, and I was using my cell cam this year, and pretty much most of the pictures I was getting down there was just from the vegetation blowing around. So I decided to move it. So I don't know if it's him or not. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm very hopeful that he is still alive. Definitely a good deer for sure. One particular deer that I'm very excited about this year, and it'd be really hard to pass on him, but I think it would probably be worth it because he has the potential to really blow up into a monster. I feel like is a deer I call Splits. He's got double split brow tines, and I'm not going to show you the picture of him from this year that I have, or the pictures, and that is no offense to you guys. I just if that turns into a story this year, I want you guys to be surprised. So, yeah, he's pretty impressive last year. He showed up. Let's see, I think the date is October 6th. So, again, he was one of those big mature deer that were hitting the mock scrape that I had put in. And, yeah, he definitely returned this year. Estimated 3.5-year-old last year. So we're looking at a 4.5-year-old deer this year. And, yeah, I'm just really excited to hunt that deer this year for sure. I think that'd be really cool to hunt him and make a story out of that. But also, he has the potential to go big, I think. So we'll see. Next up is a deer I call Wide Load. Definitely passing this deer. If I was to see him, he's not necessarily on my hit list. Now, I'm not going to tell my parents or my wife not to shoot this deer. But for me, I would definitely want to pass on this deer. Estimated at 2.5 years old last year, and he does have the potential to get pretty big. I think he's just nice and wide, and didn't have a whole lot of pictures of him last year, but yeah, I think he has potential to be a big deer one day. Next up on the list here is a deer I call Brows, as in brow tines. Estimated at 4.5 years old last year, so we're looking at a 5.5-year-old deer this year. And I know for a fact this is an old deer because I have pictures of this deer from back in 2022. So he's definitely big, and I've got pictures of him this year already, and with an estimated score of 132 to 137 inches. That might not sound like a real big deer to a lot of people, but to me, it's a big deer. It's a shooter. So, but yeah, looking forward to hunting that deer. The picture I got of him this year was walking right in front of the one of the stands I put up. So hopefully he can just do that this deer season, and that would definitely be awesome. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys to death here, especially y'all listening on Spotify, not being able to see these pictures, but hopefully you can just imagine what these deer look like. Next up on my list is a deer that I actually have history with for about 3 years now. Is a deer I call Steel, and I call him Steel as in like the chainsaw brand Steel, because the first year that I had pictures of him and that I actually seen him, I just for some reason I thought his antlers reminded me that of like saw blades, so that's where I came up with the idea of Steel. But anyways, he's been around here on the farm since at least 2023. Roughly, it's 2.5 year old in 2023. So we're looking at a 4.5 year old deer this year, and I wouldn't necessarily say he's getting a whole lot bigger. He's definitely gained some mass, and he's not necessarily wide. He's a very narrow deer. I feel like he's definitely gotten a little taller. I've got pictures of him in velvet this year, estimated like 115 to 122 inches. So again, not a big deer, but I think it'd be really cool to shoot him. 2023, that hunting season was the first year I was back out of the Army, and I actually had a decoy set down in front of my stand, and he came in, and he put his ears back and puffed up. It was during the rut, but he pretty much moseyed on. He didn't want to fight my decoy or anything, so that's how I know he was definitely younger then. But definitely a cool deer, and it would definitely be really cool to hunt him and possibly shoot him this year. There's a few more deer here on my list that I really won't go into detail about because they're new to me, and either one of them are shooters, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing those deer this year. Um, but I just don't have any history with those deer, and the one is a deer I'm going to deem the 3x3. He's literally a 6 pointer. I don't know. I guess I should probably try to pass on that deer, but he just, even as a 6 pointer, is big. And but yeah, a lot of good potential this year here on the farm, and really looking forward to it this year. Like, I can't wait. I mean, I look forward to deer season so much. Mossy Oak saying it's not an obsession, it's a passion. Um, but for me, it's definitely both. I absolutely love deer hunting, and it's just so fun. Kind of moving on from those hitless bucks at the farm, like I mentioned, hunting the base, and I've got a couple hitless deer there. Not a whole lot of history, but some. Um, so the first one up is a buck that I've called Elusive. Um, he is a one antler deer, so he's a half rack. He's got 4 points on his right side, and on his left side, it's like a fork or 2 points. So hopefully y'all can imagine what that looks like. And if any of you were watching my videos last year, I did shoot that deer last year. Unfortunately, I hit him high in what we call the no man's land, and he ended up living. I actually had pictures of him later throughout the season. I actually seen him at like 35, 40 yards, tagging a doe one night, and decided I wasn't going to, shoot that far and possibly injure him again. So he was a really cool deer last year. You can just tell that he was older and mature, and I thought that would be really cool to harvest him. But God had other plans. So hopefully he's still around this year, and I'll be able to see him. And also a buck, definitely that I'm on the lookout for is a buck that I've deemed Houdini. He's a 10 point, 5 points on his left, 5 points on his right. But on that right side, his G2 is split. So he's kind of unique. So I got pictures of him one night last year, and then after that, he pretty much disappeared. So I'm hoping that he comes back. I'm hoping that he makes his way through, and we'll possibly get a crack at him. I really don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. And it's just that cat and mouse game. It's that chase, and it's so fun. It's so fun. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this deer season. I hope you all are getting ready. Hopefully, you guys have your stands, blinds up, and hopefully, food plots have been successful and stuff like that. It's going to be a good deer season, especially if we get some rain here. Um, I know EHD is really taking its toll down in southeastern Ohio, but thankfully, I don't think EHD has been hitting around here. Like I said, I've tried to do my best at making sure I have fresh water available for the deer. And that buck that I did find dead over the summer, if any of you guys saw it short on YouTube, I think as thick as that deer's bases were, I think that was just an old deer, possibly boss hog, but I don't think so. Um, but it was just an old deer, I think, and yeah. But anyways, I think that's going to wrap things up here, y'all. I really appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of Food for the Plot. If you're watching here on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, drop a comment, share with a friend, all that good stuff. And I really, truly pray that God blesses you guys' deer season this year. And I hope you guys stay safe. Wear your safety harness and all that stuff and continue just watching along here. I'm going to continue grinding out and getting some videos for you guys. And hopefully this year is the year that I put together a true whitetail story for you guys, a success story. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And until next time, stick with it.